Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career, with a little self-help along the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and people. As Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Philter. I'm joined by a special guest. Everyone's a special guest because they take time to join me on my show. I am joined by Dr. Vania Neris. Now, I've been connected to this wonderful doctor because our sons go to the same elementary school together, or did, and they have a special circumstance in which, unfortunately, they're only here for a year or two because this special guest is from the great country of Brazil. And so for this podcast, I wanted to have Dr. Neris on the show to talk about her experiences visiting America, especially with a family, and how that experience has been for her. But before we get started, Vânia, can you give the listeners a little background on who you are?
Oh, yes, Philip. Thanks for having me. Thanks for this amazing introduction. So I was born in São Paulo City, which is in São Paulo State in Brazil. And as my mother used to say, I was giving classes since I was a child. So that was my favorite play. And after studying for many years and working hard, so here I am. I am an associate professor at the Federal University of São Carlos, working for the Department of Computing. And this last year, we lived in Fairfax as we are visiting scholars at George Mason University. My research area is human-computer interaction. And recently, I'm focusing on how to develop new technology to support mental health and well-being.
Oh, I didn't know. You know, that's my niche, right? That I love well-being and positivity. So we might have to go on a tangent on that, but I did not know that your discipline aligned with that. So we're going to have to, talk about that later. But coming back, you had this wonderful opportunity. What made you want to do your visiting professorship or your research in the U.S.?
Oh, yeah. In my area, computer science, the U.S. is where things happen, right? The big companies are here, and a lot of research and design of new technologies made in the U.S. And, my actual research is about the use of wearable computing to support mental health. And Professor Vania Neris, who hosted us here, is a specialist in wearable computing. So here was the place to come, right? And I can add to that in research, I think a good partnership happens when you can share and you can also learn. And I think it happened to us with this experience here. So I learned about the use of wearable devices and sensors, and I could share our ideas on how to use different data sources to identify possible depressive college students. So I think it was very worth to be here. Just talking a little bit more, as you said, you may be interested. So the idea of this project, it's called AMIVI project, is to use data from online social network systems, such as public posts, and also data from mobile sensors that could tell us about how was the quality of your sleep, or if you did exercises or not. So we are training these artificial intelligence models to identify possible depressive college students using this data. So after identifying, we'll have a chatbot that will talk to the students using this data.
Wow. So, I think when you were doing your research, you had to apply for this. Did you particularly go and do research on the institutions and professors that were doing this work? And did you have to have a pre-interview with them to say, hey, I'm in Brazil, I love what you're doing at George Mason. Can I come visit you? Or did you also look at other universities? Hey, I'm in Brazil, but I see you're doing this at University of Texas. Did you have a few options, or it was only George Mason?
Yeah, things can start from different ways. One of these is like looking for people online, for instance, and trying to make connections and apply. This is certainly a way that things can start. But in my case, it was a bit different because I've met Professor Vivian Mott in a conference before, an academic conference. So we were in touch already. And then this opportunity for the scholarship to come here appeared. And then, so that was my option, let's put it this, because we were working together before. But there are different ways it could happen.
I love that. So you kind of what we tell students, relationships matter, and networking made a big difference. You met, where was this conference? And obviously, was this an international conference?
Yes, it was an international conference in an amazing place. It was in Crete.
Yeah.
So beautiful place to be, wonderful opportunity to share and make collaborations and with other researchers. It was the International Conference in Human-Computer Interaction.
What year was that? Curious.
It was before pandemic.
Yeah.
It was 2019.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So then how did y'all stay in touch? LinkedIn, how frequently were y'all in communicating with each other between that conference and this opportunity now?
Yeah. So we just realized that we have research interests in common. Then we start changing emails. And she had a very interesting project here using social networks. So we discussed on that project data collection and so on. So then we could publish the paper together. So we had these online meetings, and also we could work together in this paper. After that, I did the same from my side, and then we discussed data collection as well from one of my projects in Brazil. So I think that's it. This is how it is started.
Well, that's amazing. No, I'm smiling because I think, one, I know you're super friendly, and your vibe is so positive, but it's just so interesting how relationships matter. And like you just came about it. This opportunity to come to Mason was really formed in a normal relationship that you made at this conference, which I did not know. But that really shows how these relationships can transcend countries. Like you stayed communicating across countries, and that shows how global and how connected we are as human beings.
For sure. I definitely agree. And I think we both were researchers and we have this interest in common, but I think we were open to change information, and we were open to build this relationship. So this is really important. And this is not only on research, for sure, this is for life. So sometimes you have these opportunities, but you have to build something together, to be open to that, and then great results can come from it. Yeah.
I love it. So what was your thoughts, before you came to America? What was that discussion like? What was that discussion like with your partner, with your kids? Take us to that.
Okay, good. Yeah, so in Brazil, we are exposed to many news and movies and music pieces from the United States. So I think we can have an idea about the culture. But being here is different. It's amazing to get to know the people, places, and the way of living. So, getting back to your question, yeah. I think before coming, I thought people would be more reserved, not talking too much to foreigners as we are, but I was positively surprised by how welcome people were to us. Really, that's our experience here. That was something great. Also, I think we also had an idea that as a rich country, we would see like more money around. I mean, to get better services, products, attractions, and so on. And this is true. This is true compared to our reality in Brazil, I think.
So, you know, Pedro is really close with Bennett. Did Pedro say, like, when you say, hey, we're going to live in America for a year, was he like, no, like, you're going to change my, you know, disrupt my life. I want to stay with my friends at my school. Or was he very excited?
Oh, you know, I have 2 kids, right? So I have a girl that is older than Pedro. So she was like this. She was like you said, no, I don't want to go. I think because, she's older. Maybe she's like more connected with friends and so on. But Pedro, he was excited. Like, he's a curious boy and he's open to these opportunities, as we were talking here. So no, he was excited. And I think that made difference here, because like he was engaged to you know, make new friends and to get the most of this experience. And I think he did. And Bennett was a very special person and in this process.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, I remember we knew long about Pedro before we actually met, because Bennett would come home and say, I got a good friend and his name is Pedro. You know something special about Pedro? He's from Brazil. Do you know about Brazil? And so, like, you were his, you know, Pedro was his exposure to a new way of living early on. And he would tell us things like, you know, in Brazil, they speak Portuguese. Like, it was just the kids. You know, I think that was a great thing. So, like, call Pedro like your ambassador, because I think the kids got along so well.
Good, so amazing.
Yeah, you did speak to it. You said, what were some things that really caught you by surprise? You say people are more friendly than you thought, or what were some other surprises that you thought, wow, this is what I thought, you know, the United States was like? And maybe even what were some of the surprises that you thought about in regards to your field of work, academics? Was there like, I never thought that, you know, colleges acted this way in America. It's a little different in Brazil.
Okay. Yes. So let me tell you, we had an expectation that we would see many foreign people around, especially because we are in a college area. And this is also true. Maybe this is not true in every place in America, but this is true here. But you know something, it's a small thing, but it was different for us because as you said, we speak Portuguese as our first language, but we did not expect to see how much Spanish has been used here. So you have you have Spanish in many instructions and other communication text. Like there is text in Spanish on almost every tag, right? In clothes or products. So that was something we were not expecting, but we can see here. So that I was also positively surprised by the use of a second language. Yeah, I don't know if you agree with me. Do you see like there is?
Oh no, Spanish. No, Spanish is the second most spoken language in the United States, especially with the large immigrant population that we have. And like, I mean, some schools have particularly thought about teaching Spanish early, like immersion programs. They don't do that with any other language as frequently as Spanish. So like there's elementary schools throughout our area in Northern Virginia where they'll say you can learn Spanish and English concurrently. And they don't really do that with other languages, especially around here. I mean, you can learn different languages early on, but that early immersion, that like learn it early, Spanish is still, leading in that for sure.
Yes. So this is what we noticed. But on the other hand, we also recognize that outside the college area, most of Latin American people we saw here are working in construction or gardening or food preparation. So I think they are almost 20% of the United States population, but most of them, they were born here already. Yeah, they're the second or third generation, but they do not have access to other jobs, I think. So this is what I noticed as well.
Well, yeah, a lot of observation, and obviously from census stuff, there's still a large discrepancy in regards to not many people that identify as Latina are in academia or other roles, but more so service roles. Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't know, I think that's also going to be very rare that you see a lot of Black people or African Americans in, I looked at the statistic, there's only 1% of Black African Americans or Blacks that have an advanced doctorate degree. Mm-hmm. So that discrepancy is very noticeable in regards to population compared to certain careers, for sure.
Yeah.
Historically.
Yeah. So we noticed that as well, being here this last year. So that's something that maybe we were expecting it a bit different, but so that was something.
Well, you moved into America somewhat in the height of the pandemic. Also, you moved in, I think, was it 2020? Did y'all come here in 2020 or 2021?
2021. Yeah.
Okay, so you had missed all the craziness that we had with the insurrection and all that stuff with the politics. So when you came here during COVID, maybe, I don't know if it's the height in 21, was that kind of a bummer? Like, wow, we're coming to America. We wanted to get a full experience, but we came during this pandemic.
Yeah. First, it was not really easy to get here because in Brazil, we got vaccines a bit after that you had here. So, we are not like in the same time or level that you were here. So some services were not available in Brazil already for documentation and things like that. So we also had to change our dates, and that was a bit stressful process to get everything ready to come. Yeah, so that was something we had to deal because of the period, because of pandemic. But then when we arrived here, I think more activities were still being done remotely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then progressively they turned in person. So it took a while to really see and meet people in person. But at the end, we could do that. So, and we knew we would be in a safe environment, as the university was very careful while navigating through the crisis and this process. So, we felt safe, but it took like a bit more to know people. I think that was the main thing. But at the end, we could do everything. We planned it.
Yeah, that's what I say. I know that's a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge for me as an extrovert. And so I can't imagine going to another country and then not having the same opportunities to go to like a huge gathering or barbecue to meet people, So I can see that being quite difficult. When was when you came, did you actually get to meet your partner in research face to face, or you had to like meet her a lot online remotely first, or did you get a chance to connect with her in person when you got here?
Yeah, we did. I think we did with her and with some other professors. Yes, we did. It took a while with the students. I think we interacted more with the students and other researchers during the year. But we could with the first or the closest ones we could.
That's great. So, what are some cultural differences that you've noticed between Brazil and America?
Okay.
And like I said, anecdotal, like I said, it's not research. I know you want to say, don't worry about no stats. This is your point of view. Listeners, this is Dr. Neris's point of view. But, what was some of your cultural observations between the two countries?
Okay. I think here people are more competitive. Yeah, I think this is part of the American culture. As you said, my point of view, no statistics, just freely talking here. But I think on one side, this pushes everybody to move a bit further. So this is the good side of it. But on the other side, this can be too much sometimes, So I think I can give you an example.
Please,
that just happened. So, like Bill Buxton just passed away a few weeks ago, I think. And he did great things in his career. inside and outside the basketball court. But instead of making like tributes for him because of what he did, I saw many people comparing him with other players.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the point was to see if he was or not the number one player. And it sounded strange to me because I think that was like a cultural aspect of it. I think you can say great things about a person without the need of comparing to other people. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, no, I mean, you're nailing it. Like, I think we are very competitively driven, which is funny because then we really want to be competitive. We're also not very high on lots of things. So, like, what I mean by that, like, statistically, we're not, we don't have the most, the highest math scores or STEM and all that. So we're competitive, but then when you come to sports, we're very competitive. But I think that is a driver, career-wise. I do notice that innate, not only what am I doing, but this external focus. What are other people doing? And I have to measure my worth or my progress based on the worth and progress of others. And that's, I think that is across industries. I got a doctorate. Oh, that person already had it, and they're number one researcher. And ranking is very big in America. You probably noticed that with even universities. They're saying, oh, this is the number 5 ranked, research school. This is the number 2. And yeah, so I could see that. I could see that from an outside lens, that ranking and where you stack up really matters. But while that could be a driver to make you more competitive, it also can make you, damaging to your ego, and also sometimes toxic, where you like you say, you don't honor or celebrate things. You're almost trying to like, I'm not good enough. I got to compare to other people.
Yes, this is what I mean. So I need, like, you have to know this limits, and trying to make the positive side of that, but not too much. And maybe you can find other ways to put things, or to even push people, but not being compared all the time.
Yeah.
So that's sometimes it's too much.
Now, I love that. So how that leads into it, what do you think we can learn from Brazil? Like, as a culture, from your experience, like the Brazilian way, this would be very beneficial to the American way.
Okay. Let me tell you something more, abstract, and then something more practical, maybe.
Okay.
In the abstract level, I would say Brazilian people is really, I would say, flexible, because we live in certain difficult circumstances. We are not a rich country. We have many social economic issues. So people learn on how to be more, I think, flexible and try to find solutions. So this is something. Maybe this is also related to be not so competitive, because we don't have so many options as you do here. So I think we do things in a different way, because we can't really even compare too much, because of the circumstances. And then the practical example of that, I think I noticed that in Brazil we have more options and flexibility in the digital financial systems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we can transfer money or make payments in several different and quicker ways. And here I think it was more, we have less options. Yeah, there are things you have to do by like post, or they have to mail a check, or things like that. That isn't like, for me, it was not so flexible, I think.
I get that. What was some other things you learned in regards to just how you treat people? Because this is a well-being podcast. What do you think are some things that you've learned is the Brazilian way that we can really embed, to America? Like, I've heard stories, so check me if I'm right, but like open house and just the carnival life, and people are, together and dancing and celebrating. I only got this glimpse from my fraternity brother that actually met his wife, who's Brazilian. He lived in Brazil for a couple of years, met his wife there, and they came back to America. But that was the thing. You always talked about the vibe of how people treated each other. But so what are some of those things? Like, what kind of lessons can we learn around treating people from Brazil?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we're good on that. I think you were right on your perceptions. And yes, I think but I have a theory about that, why we do this like we do, because I think it's the weather, because it's a tropical country. It's hot all the time. Yeah. And so people are like outside their houses, and we have this music. We like to drink beer. We like to do barbecue, and then people have this open house and this vibe, and they like to talk, and they like to help other people. This is part of our culture, I think, because, as I mentioned, we have this social economic problem. So yeah, we are happy when we can help someone. This is part. It's not just like, okay, I have my life and I have to do great things in my life, and this is the way I collaborate with society, taking care of my things and doing my part. It's a different way of thinking. In Brazil, it's not this way that we think, like, do the best you can for yourself and your family, and this is the way you contribute to society. I think maybe this is the mindset here. And in Brazil, it's not really like this. Like, if you can support someone, it doesn't mean that it's perfect, or it doesn't mean that everybody lives in community. And no, this is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, we are happy to help. So small examples. If you see someone needing something on the street, your car is broken, and you go there and you help. It's not like, okay, call your service, call insurance. You should have insurance, take care of it, Yeah. So everybody would go, stop, see what is happening, and say, can we help some way? Yeah, that would happen. So yeah, and this is something that we notice as well, that it's different. So not saying that, because sometimes people should take care of their lives too, as it is the mindset here. But maybe we could mix things, right? We could learn from each other, and we could be more supportive here. But in Brazil, we could be more like responsible as well, and then we could mix things. Maybe this is the way.
I think that's what I love. I love learning. There's no absolute. There's no right way. I think hybrid way. I think learning, taking bits and pieces and making your own, I guess, global culture, right? Still holding on to things that are innately, unique to your own culture, but also appreciating and adapting things. Like, I think that the way that should be, community living, right? Like, still have a individual effort, but it's also like there's still a we versus me mindset you could do concurrently if you really think about it. So this has been great. This has been a great episode of the podcast. I'm going to have a segment of my show, which we call Shot for Shot. You get to ask me any random question that you like, has nothing to do with this, and I get to ask you any random question. Do you want to go first, or I go first?
Oh, you go first.
All right. So my random question for you is that if you were to do this again, like come back as a fellow to the United States, and you had to pick another city or state, you had to. You can't come back to Fairfax.
Oh,
where where would you go, and why would you use that to have your another year in the United States?
Oh my God, that's a tough question.
Yeah, I think you should have told me to go first, but
yeah, I did. The United States, so big but so nice. We love to be here. Really, we learned a lot, and this is, why it is difficult, because as I told you, it also depends on people, the relationships you have, your common interests, and how you build relationships. So I started thinking about people. When you asked me that, I wasn't thinking about the place. I was thinking about people, and there are such great groups researching human-computer interaction in the United States. Oh, should I have to pick up one? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I know the answer. I will pick up Maryland.
Oh,
You know
close.
why?
Look at
Because
you.
it's close to Fairfax, close to the friends we have
Yeah.
here. And they
Yeah.
also have a great human-computer interaction research group there.
Oh, there it is, man. That was good. So there it is. Like you still, that counts. I said different place. That Maryland is different, technically. So that was great. And I think Bennett would be like, oh, great, Pedro's still in driving distance. So what's your question for me?
Okay, so my question for you, as I know you are in education sector for a while, and you work with people sometimes trying to get their first job, or even thinking about their career. What do you think about the academic career? Do you think students should go for it? What would you say as strong points and not so strong points in the academic career?
Okay, I'm about to say, I feel like don't come in this career if you want a lot of money.
Right.
So, I have a funny story. So I never envisioned education as my career. Honestly, I never thought what I wanted to do with my life when I grew up. I was kind of floated. But I remember specifically taking a class in the 10th grade, and it was an African-American male class. So it was in my high school, and it was only black boys, black men in the class, and the teacher was a black man. So we had this class in the 10th grade. It changed my life. It's where I met my best friend who's Jamaican, Hillard, and we stayed together, and it was just a wonderful class. And the teacher of that class, I stay in touch with him, Mark Holbrook. I'm about to go to his 50th birthday party. He's like a mentor. And I met with him the other day, and I said, Holbrook, your class changed my life, changed my life and all my friends' life, Hillard's life and all that. And he said, Phil, I know, and I was trying to get you all to be proud of yourselves and all that, but half of y'all guys became teachers. And I was like, that wasn't my dream for y'all. But just naturally, I became an educator. My best friend Hillard's a school counselor. A couple other guys are PE teachers, and we all gravitated to education. And it was weird because of that influence of Holbrook. And so it's like, blame you for us not being rich. It's your fault. And so I would say I have aligned, no matter what I do, my personality is aligned with an educator. Meaning, even if I had a corporate job, it had to be some form of aspect of that job is helping teach. Technically, I'm not a traditional teacher, but I teach career skills. I have an opportunity to train and develop people. And so what I would tell people is that if that's something that you feel good about in yourself, like you get a sense of purpose when you help teach someone, then education is for you. Don't worry about the money, do other things, chase that passion. You'll feel fulfillment. But also I'd give them the real deal talk. Like, educators are not the most notable people. Sometimes it's thankless work. You don't get paid the most. It's not the most glamorous career. When people, traditionally, when they think like, hey, what do you do? And someone's like, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer. And there's like a lot of prestige with that. Mm-hmm. That same prestige doesn't always come along with being an educator, which I think is not fair, but not appropriate, because educators are changing people's lives just as much. Like I remember my teachers. So just go into it knowing if you're very firm and that you like to help people and that's enough for you to feel good about yourself, go into education. If you want to make money, reevaluate your priorities. This ain't it. This ain't the way. This ain't the career for you. That will not be a driver. That's not a great driver. Money and that will not be a great driver. And it's okay. If money is a driver, then go to a career that aligns with that, like being a lawyer or something. But if money is a driver, education is not the way for you. So, yeah. And I get that a lot. I get this like cautionary, I get a chance to do that cautionary tale where I meet a lot of students that I've helped and like, oh, Philip, because of you, I want to get into higher ed. And I said, are you sure? Are you sure? You know, I let him know, like, you know, you could do other things, but I know my identity. I know my identity is very firm in it. I feel good about myself.
Absolutely.
As an educator.
Great. Amazing. Yeah, I think you're right. That's the same for me.
Yeah. Just make sure you invest in money, or, you know, marry someone rich. You know, that's what I would tell him too.
Be a professor and marry someone rich.
Yeah. You could be the professor or the educator, the teacher, and marry some guy that's into stock or something. I don't know. Like marry rich. That would be my advice. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's not what I did. I married other professors.
Clearly, me too. I married a helper too. I married a social worker. So both of us kind of failed on that one. I said sorry to my wife. She said sorry to me. We did not. Not one of us was the rich one, but we're both very happy. Yeah. So this has been great. You know, definitely we got to visit. I told you, give me about 10 years and I can be a visiting professor. Maybe my work, you know, the well-being, maybe you can find a lane with me. I come down to Brazil and work with you. But this is the part of the show where I call it shout outs and plugs. So shout out, you can say, you know, show love to anyone you want to show love to, anyone. And then plugs are how you'd want the followers or listeners to get in touch with you and some of the things that you're working on, you know, like that you want to be noticed, like, you know, the link to your research and all that stuff. Anything that you want to, you know, highlight. So shout outs and plugs. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Philip. So I think my message goes to my family, my husband, Vania Neris, which is a great partner. Yeah, I couldn't be here without him, and I really love him, and I love the life we are building together. This is very strong to me. My kids are great. My kids are very partners, and they just are in this amazing you know, experience with us, and they did great. I know it's not easy to leave your country, your culture, your family, your friends, and just get your luggage and come to live in another country. And they did it, and they you know, made friends here. They went to school very happy every day, and that supported me so much. I really need to say thank you to other people in my family, my parents, my siblings, and also my colleagues from UFSCar, where I come from, that made all of this possible. So many and many thanks. And many thanks to people here who really welcome us. And that was lovely. You can imagine that you just arrived in a new city, you know no one, but people, you know, at the end were inviting us to go to their houses, as you and Maggie did. Thank you very much. That's lovely. It means a lot. I don't know if you can imagine how much it means to all of us. That was just great. My thank you to George Mason University and everybody that we could work here. So many, we are very grateful for what happened to us. And then I think my message to people that are listening is that you have to, I think, believe, put love in everything you were doing. And then good things are going to happen as well. I really believe in that. If you do with love, you put love on that, and if you you will work hard, the opportunities will come to you. Good opportunities will come to you, and then you can have this chance to choose your way. Sometimes you plan something, it doesn't happen at that time. Just don't give up. Just think about it. Maybe just do new plans, but keep moving, keep believing, keep doing great things, keep loving people, and good things will happen. The doors will be open, and you're gonna meet new people and make friendships, and then that That would be good. This is my last message.
I love it. I love it. And then some of the things you're working on, like if they want to get in touch with you, are you active? Are you active on LinkedIn or anything like that? Or ways that people can connect with you?
I have an account in LinkedIn. I'm not very active, but I have an account. But yeah, you know, academic people, I do have a web page where you can find more information about myself, my work, and how to reach me. I think by email, that would be the easiest way. My email is Vania, Vania.Neris, Neris at ufiscar.br. Yeah, you can find me, you can reach me, and I'll be happy to talk to people and you know, keep in touch.
Excellent. And make sure if you know that webpage too, please send me that. I'll put that in the show notes for those that are in academics that would love to connect with you across, you know, especially in the subject matter that you're doing. So I think that definitely could be some ways you might get some random collaborations from this. So that'd be great. Well, listeners, first of all, Vania, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and your family, and just seeing my son and your son get along shows me that the next generation is in good hands, and that there's things across cultures that we can learn from each other, especially as the way that children are so welcoming. You can see how they play, and that there's things that unite us as people. You can see that living through children. So hopefully they stay in touch. You got a room for us in Brazil. We're going to come through as a whole family. You're going to regret inviting us. We'll leave in a week. I know that for sure. But thank you so much for opening your home and your hearts to us. It's been greatly appreciated. So Positive Philter listeners, if you like this episode, please share it with a family member or friend. You know, please also, in addition, I have an audience survey. So I'd love to hear your feedback. So if you're a listener, a longtime listener of the podcast, please check out that audience survey. Give me some feedback. I would love to learn from you what you like about these episodes, what you would like me to do to be better as a host. If you also want to leave a voicemail for the podcast, you can call 571-336-6560. That's 571-336-6560. Sometimes I take those voicemails and put them on the podcast. This has been great. Sharing positivity is a movement, and we're out. Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity a Movement. Thanks for listening.